Hello and welcome back to the RV Ranger Handyman channel. In this series you're watching how to remodel a master bathroom, and this is part 2. We're taking you step by step, day by day, project by project. In this part 2, I guess, we're going to do a little Wedi board hanging. We're going to dive into a little bit of plumbing. We're going to install the Wedi pan system. We're going to install the panel boards around our bench seat area. We're going to seal everything. We're going to fasten it up, and we're going to get busy real quick. Before we do, I want you to hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell notification so you'll be one of the ones notified every time I release a new video for this series. Want your comments down below. Tell me what you think. Ask any questions. We're going to cover them as we're going along in this series. So you can communicate with me and I'll get back to you. Hold on tight. Here we go. And now I have my two pieces, which I can take inside, hang one, measure the other one, cut it to length, and then hang it. Okay, so what you want to do when installing the Wedi board, everywhere your Wedi board is going to meet another Wedi board, i.e. the bottom of this one, right here, and the edge of this one, right here, you want to put a bead of sealant where they touch each other, to help keep them waterproof and all the seals inside the wet area. So I'm going to put a bead of Wedi sealant all the way down the edge of that Wedi board. So what you want to use to secure a Wedi board are some Wedi fasteners and some Wedi screws that you can either buy separately in a box or they can come if you order the kit. Now since it's going upside down, I like to pre-position my fasteners. And I'm going to put them towards the end. I'm going to put 2 on each side, so basically you just set them in place, press them in, and stay there just fine. And normally you want to put them about 12 inches apart, but this time I did about 13, because you also want to put them at the very ends when you join a board together, which we will also be putting some Wedi sealant on this edge when we put them together. So I'm just going to go through and finish pre-placing my fasteners, get up there and hang it. Alright, let's get to hanging. We're going to measure the other side, get it cut, and then we're going to hang it.
we have this piece prepped, our fasteners in place, and I said we'll put the end fasteners on once we set it in place. And we also applied a bead of Wedi. We also applied a bead of Wedi sealant to the end. Our two pieces of board came together. You can see that we just put the fasteners over the middle and secured them with the screw, and you can see the sealant squeezing out of the edges. And what we're going to do is just take our finger and smooth out that sealant, because later on we're going to come in and seal all the fasteners just like we did those with the sealant. And where all the glue is, we're going to put a bead over that and seal that as well. So everything on the inside will be completely waterproof. And like you see earlier, we came through and sealed everything, run all the creases, all the edges, even where the window comes in. 100% waterproof, will not leak. Alright, so basically to seal these fasteners in this crease line, we're just going to squeeze a dab of sealant in here, in both of them. Now they supply a spatula, or you can use a spatula. Basically, I like using my finger. Primarily because I know I can work it in, get it smooth, ensuring myself that there is nothing left in the cracks or anywhere around the fasteners. And if I need a little more, then I'll just put a little more on here, which I think I'm going to. And I'll just smooth that out, work it in. Okay, so now we have our drain pipe in place. It's dry fit, but before we take it out, we want to go in and mark our crosshairs, so that way when we take it apart to glue it and reassemble it, we put it back into the same configuration that it's in right now. This is important because we have a height and distance where our drain pipe's going to come together with the bottom of our Wedi board. So basically, like I said, we're just going to draw a line connecting the two pipes and crosshair line so that we basically have a target to line up when we put it back together. So we're just going to go through and mark each one all the way to the end. If I don't get my lines perfectly together, they don't look good to me, then I make them a little thicker. I can just mark on the edge of it and draw it out a little thicker to where my lines look that they are one single line, if that makes any sense. Now the most important parts you'll see in a second coming up are these elbows. This elbow right there and this elbow right here. You definitely want to make sure you get those marks good, because if you're off when you put it back together, the pipe coming out towards the pan is not going to be in the correct position and it will not line up. And once you get these glued, the only course of action you have is to take it out and do it again. Now let me get down here in the back corner and mark my line on how deep it's going to go down on the pipe coming out of the ground. Once we have everything marked, then we're going to pull it out, disassemble it, glue it, put it back together. So it's out, and what you see what I did here is I made dots where all of my pipes are going to come together. That way when I disassemble it, take it apart, I'll know how to put it back together. Just a little trick. Sometimes you'll get confused, especially on the elbows. Once you take it apart and you're gluing it and you're putting a primer on it, when you go to put it back together, you may not have the end of that elbow going to the right piece of pipe, and it may not line up when you go to put it back together. So just be careful with that. You always want to make sure that you clean your pipe out for any residue, because it had some dust in there when we were marking it. So you just want to get that cleaned out. It had a little bit of water in there from when we did a test when we blew out the line to make sure that our line was clean and flowed. So just get everything cleaned up, get it prepped before you put your primer on. Okay, so we're still inside, and yes, the customer's still sleeping, so I'm still doing voiceover. Now here, all we're doing is priming the plumbing parts. You just take your primer, get a good coat on your sponge here, and you prime all your connecting points with the primer that you're going to be putting your pipes together. Make sure you cover them thoroughly. You can pour out the parts. That's if you get a good running spot, just pour it back into the can, or sometimes I just dab it. But inside there you can see we have a good coat, and we're just going to go through and coat all of our pipes that we're going to be hitting together with this primer here. Be done real quick. Alright, so we got all the primer on. Now we're going to start gluing piece by piece, one section at a time. You want to glue both ends that you're going to put together, the inside and the outside, and then we're just going to take our pipe, line up our lines, make sure we have the correct dots for using the pieces that we want to work with, line them up and press it in. Now here you need to twist a little bit and maintain a little bit of pressure, because you're going to watch the pipe wants to come back out. That glue will push that pipe back out. So maintain the pressure, keep your crosshairs aligned so that you know you have your pipe fitted the way it needs to be fitted. You can just hold it there a few moments, and then you can release it and it will hold, and there you go. So now we're going to go through and glue the rest of our pipe together and get it all hooked up, ready to be put in position. Here we go. Alright, we have everything together here, and we're going to be putting it into our pipe in the drain, which is right there. So we're just going to glue this up real quick, put our pipe in, get it seated, make sure that we're aligned. We're going to hold the pressure there a little bit so it doesn't back off on us, and then we can get to installing our pan. Okay, so here we're going to dry fit our pan system to make sure that our drain hooks up with our plumbing before we go in and install it permanently. So basically we're just going to lay it down, line it up, work with it a little bit, make sure that the pipes fit snug and tight and all the way up into our pan, Then we're going to pull it back out and install it, if we like everything that we find. Alright, here we go.
Alright, now we just want to make sure we get this area good and clean before we install our pan, get all the debris off the ground, any chips, anything and everything. We're going to get this area nice and clean before we apply our thin set. Off we go. Okay, now we're clean, and now it's time to apply the thin set. We're going to be using a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch trowel. We're just going to make sure that we get thin set every square inch on this pan area, and then we're going to come down and set our pan in it after we do something else to our drain area first, which we'll cover in just a second, or as soon as this thin set's over with or being applied, then we'll get to it. But anyway, so we're going to get the thin set on and keep moving to the next step. Here we go.
Alright, so we're back live now. So what we're getting ready to do is we're going to go around and put this Wedi sealant everywhere where our panel boards are going to contact that. Around the edges, all the way across the boards and benches, and the front part here. Here we go. One additional place we're going to be putting it is down in our notch on this pan. So when we put our panel boards down in there, it's going to seal that as well. And then once we get them in, we will be coming back and putting it on the edge on the inside. Now you ask how much are we using? My answer is P for plenty. I think we sucked all the life out of that one. You ever had those caulking guns that just won't stop? This one I found, Home Depot, it's their brand, and it is one of the best caulking guns I have found to use. Now this particular sealant is very thick, so it is hard to squeeze. But you put a tube of silicone in here or caulking or something in here, and it's rather easy to operate. And when you let go of the trigger, it's going to stop. It's not going to keep pouring out on you, falling out on the surface falling down the surface, whatever you're working with. So yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, I think we're good with the sealant. I'm going to start putting our panels on, and we'll be adding some more to the panels on the joints. That's the good thing about German engineering. Everything's good and tight. All I gotta do is get it lined up where our mark was. And you're gonna get glue on you, but don't worry about it. As long as you get it relatively time, it'll come off. As long as you get it in a short period of time, it'll come off relatively easy. But you want it oozing out so that you know you have pee for plenty. Now I like that piece. Okay, here's the handy dandy spatula that comes with the kit. It's great for corners, scraping edges. And I did not follow my 5 P's, which is prior planning prevents piss poor performance. So I don't have my plastic spatula. So I'm going to have to use this one. I just found my plastic spatula. Alright, so now we're going to go down and we're going to seal our lower line all the way around the edges, our side panels up in the seams, across the top here, Then we're going to come in across the top, next where it meets the bench, and seal this area up here. We're also going to be coming with a different water barrier and do this entire bench top. Even though it's hardy backer, I'm still going to put an extra layer on it. Alright, so now that we have all of our panels on and our sealant in all the corners and seams, we're going to go through and put our fasteners on, cinch everything down, and go back and smooth out, hopefully, some more sealant that we squeeze out. That way we know that everything's in there good, squeeze it out, and we'll go back out and smooth it. Here we go. I mentioned this in an earlier video, but basically, by these metal washers with ribs on the back. Close up. And the screw. Allen must have landed right on top of the screw. Not a big deal. We'll adjust it. And then we're just going to put sealant over all of it. Sometimes I crack myself lining these up right over the top of screws. Now I don't know if you can see this corner. I'll bring you over closer in a minute. It's I had pre-formed all these other pieces before I finished that boxed end over there. And then when I closed that off, I failed to put this panel up to match it up. So as you can tell, I thought about this panel further over, which I didn't. I brought it flush to the end. So when I did this one, I also brought it flush to the end. So I'm going to take that one down and recut it to where it comes to the end of this panel, and then we're going to seal that all up as well. Alright, now we're going to go through and smooth out our seams. And then we're going to go through and caulk every place that we put one of these washer and screws. Not caulk, but put sealant on it as well. Okay, so here's the corner I was talking about. I do not like the way that lined up, so I'm going to take this piece off, measure it to the edge, recut it, and hang it and seal everything. And I'll also seal these even though they're outside. And I'm going to come up and seal the bottom here before we tile. And as you can see, what we just did is all secured, sealed in every seam, down every seam on the sides, all the way around the bench and the bottom. 100% waterproof. Alright, so as you can tell, we have our corner piece replaced. Everything is sealed. The bench top is clear, cleaned, prepped. All the creases and screws are sealed. And we are going to add a layer of aqua defense onto the top of that bench. Even though I have everything sealed and it is hardy backer designed for wet areas, anytime I have a piece that lays flat, I like to go ahead and give one more extra water barrier on top. I'm just that way.